There are loads of bizarre stories from Indonesia that I shared on Twitter, but here's one that is worthy of a video. It's a story for all of you gamers out there, and one that will probably be weaponized by all sorts of anti-video game moral guardians out there, or at least if they're bothered to do some research on their outrage. Thanks to @bukan_altertitik for this particular piece of news. It's coming from Sidoarjo, East Java. I used to live in its neighboring city Surabaya, so this one almost hit home. This is a story of a kid whose name is not revealed, so I'm gonna refer to him as Dennis Diarson. Dennis is a middle schooler and is an avid online game addict, especially online games with microtransactions. It's a very popular thing here in Indonesia to be playing online games with microtransactions, or I'm just gonna shorten it to MTX. The most common platform that people play these online games on is the mobile. Pretty much almost everyone in Indonesia owns a smartphone, so it's no surprise that a lot of the gaming activities are done there, although the actual platform that he plays in is not disclosed in the story. Anyway, at one day, Dennis wanted to spend some money on the in-game shops, but he realized that he doesn't have any money. So what did he do? Well, he stole some cash. He stole some cash from whatever sources that he can get his hands on. He stole cash from not just breaking into people's houses, but also donation boxes off of local shops. According to one of the locals in the area, whose family member is one of his victims, he has stolen up to millions of rupiah, or around hundreds of dollars. That's right, he has scored millions of rupiah, or hundreds of dollars, from these illegal activities. But it gets worse. So what happens if he didn't find any cash at the homes that he broke into? Well, he just burned the victim's bed down. That's right, he burned the bed down. This has happened twice from what we know. The first time he burned his victim's bed, it was immediately discovered, so the fire doesn't spread too far. The second time, however, is not so lucky. An entire house got burned by him. An entire house and a segment of a neighboring house. Also that he can spend some money on that MTX. Dennis Diarson was eventually arrested. First, he got busted and arrested and brought into the household's chairman. According to the witness, he was apparently very chill and showed no remorse when being brought into questioning by the chairman of the household. Even when questioned by the police, he was very chill and showed no remorse. It's only after a couple of hours later that he finally confessed to everything. Dennis's dad demanded everything to be settled peacefully, as in with no legalities or cops involved. The dad, for the record, is also willing to reimburse whatever damage that his son caused. However, being a dad, he initially defended his son, saying, "Well, you could have forgotten to turn the stove off." Yeah, that still doesn't explain why your son got caught running out of the house. The dad eventually apologized, and that's the end of the story. For now. The discussion of video games with predatory business practices still continue even to this day. Publishers and game companies in general tend to exploit their user base with terrible deals and incredibly manipulative practices to entice you in spending just $1 more for one more cosmetic items, one more loot box, or one more gacha rolls. So many people spoke out against these, and it seems that most AAA game publishers and companies have tried their best to mellow down their practices. But even if the AAA gaming industry is free from all sorts of predatory business practices, the mobile game industry is not. The mobile game stores have been flooded with nothing but shovelwares and garbage low quality games that will entice and manipulate its players to spend money on the thing just for the sake of getting the most premium experience. There's barely any regulation being done to these mobile games, so as long as they don't provoke the store's terms of service, they are free to exploit the consumers as much as they want. It's not just the lack of regulation, it's also the lack of dedicated gamers that complain about it. There's a lot less pushback towards predatory business practices in mobile games than there are on AAA games, or regular games in general. That's because regular games never have these practices to begin with. It's only when gaming companies realize how profitable MTX are that they decided to do it. And since regular games have a lot more dedicated fan base, their pushback is more understandable. Mobile games, however, are built on MTX, so the fans and gamers in general just shrug off when they see mobile games have MTX. Of course they do, which is why they chose not to play them. But what about those who do play mobile games? There are loads of people out there, especially in third world countries, who cannot offer proper gaming platforms like a PC or a console. So their gaming lineups are gonna be on a mobile phone, something that they have to have anyway for communication purposes, internet browsing, and other essential stuff, especially in current year. Since they can be used for gaming, why not use them for gaming? That's just my mindset with every PC that I can get my hands on. I can literally turn a 9-year-old PC with Intel graphics and turn it into a really fun gaming PC that can play all sorts of games. And this is why there are lots of mobile gamers around the world, and especially in third world countries like mine. It's because mobile games are incredibly accessible and doesn't pay a lot of money. However, accessibility is not always a benefit. The fact that it's a lot more accessible is the kind of thing that game companies exploit. More accessible means more people use it, and more people who use it means more potential victims for their dirty business tactics. One of those unfortunate victims is the middle schooler in question. Now, I don't know if the guy plays in mobile or playing PC, or if he plays an emulated mobile on PC, which technically counts as mobile, but he's definitely a victim of mobile gaming companies' continuous tendencies of exploiting their consumers and turning them into whales for their games. Unfortunately, the problem of MTX in mobile games are so big and so rampant that a pushback from the consumers isn't enough. It's about as fruitless as trying to drain the entire sea. So if you are one of those people who have to be involved in any parts of the sea, the best thing to learn for you and your future kids is how to swim and not drown. Since there's no stopping the greed and the predatory business practices that mobile games have anytime soon, the best thing that parents can do is to teach their kids how to get through it. But doing so is easier said than done, especially in a third world country where people do own smartphones but doesn't know how to use them or even be remotely familiar with the sorts of business trickeries that people did. Most people, especially parents who use smartphones, don't know how to use them to their fullest extent, and that's why you see loads of panic from parents being concerned that their kids spend a lot of their time in the digital world, especially in current year, which I've talked about in my previous video. Not to mention, they are absolutely willing to give their children phones that they're not qualified to use, and even if phones are essential, these parents should at the very least teach these children in how to use them. But if parents don't know how to use their phones to its fullest extent, then these children are just gonna go through the digital world unsupervised, which will lead them into being preyed by predators, both the asking for illegal and compromising pictures kind, and the corporations that make predatory business practices technically legal if they're being represented by some sleazy lawyers kind. This is the sort of event that makes you wonder why there should be government regulations for in-game purchases and gambling mechanics in video games, or why gambling in general is not for children. Even adults are capable of doing heinous things just for the sake of getting one more pull on their virtual slot machines, let alone children. And this is a cautionary tale for both parents and gamers alike to make sure that none of their family members and their loved ones sink into the ocean of predatory business practices. If we have to get through the ocean, at least we have to know how to swim. And that's all for the video today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. And if you wish to support me, you can go ahead and check the links down below. And thanks for watching.